Hey everyone, it's Amy here and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Love It or Leave It review. And today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my review on a new foundation from Pur Cosmetics. And this is the Bare It All 12-Hour 4-in-1 Skin Perfecting Foundation. Here is what it looks like. And I am so incredibly honored and thankful. Pur Cosmetics actually sent me the entire collection of these foundations as well as the two brushes it came with. So I was super excited. Obviously because that's exciting in itself, but second of all because I was actually going to purchase this foundation on my own. I had seen it all over Instagram and Snapchat when they sent a bunch of influencers on a trip, so I had seen it already and I was like, yep, I want to give that a try, but unfortunately none of the Ultas near me have it in stock yet. So I was waiting to purchase it in stores because their shade range can be tricky, which we will talk about in a little while. So I was going to go in stores to try to match myself. So that's why I hadn't purchased it yet. So I was super excited when I saw it in the mail. I was like, yes! I was already going to review this, but now I have the whole collection. So I will also be sharing with you guys swatches of all 10 colors. That way you guys can get a chance to see it. The first couple things I'm going to talk about are the brushes and just get those out of the way. And then we're going to talk about the foundation. So here is what the foundation brush looks like. It's basically kind of like a dupe for an Artiste brush. But this is going to retail for $28, and it says it's a soft synthetic fiber brush with a large grip handle that gives a smooth airbrush effect that looks like second skin. It's cruelty-free. You can use it with creams, powders, bronzers, face, and body. It says the large angled brush applies product faster and more evenly without streaking. Apply makeup directly to the brush and apply to skin with large strokes. So you will see me use this on one side of my face in the demo. And I do want to compare it to the one brush that I have. And I have a really cheap knockoff version from the brand iBeauty that I bought from TJ Maxx. I really like this one and I thought it was really soft until I got this one. This one is even packed more densely and even softer. Now, as far as the two, they're almost identical in every other sense. The only difference is I do think the Pur Cosmetics one is much more sturdy, especially with this foundation, which we'll talk about that obviously in a little while, but it definitely takes a little bit of effort to blend it out with this brush. So I find when I use my iBeauty one with it, I kind of have to hold it up here on its head instead of the neck to really have control and be able to use it without feeling like I'm going to bend or break it. But with the Pur Cosmetics one, I can still just continue to use the handle. So I do think this one is sturdy, but this is the only one I have in my collection. You guys had asked me to compare it to Artiste brushes, which I don't have, so I thought I would just compare it to these two. This is $28. This was probably like $12.99 or $15.99. I can't remember, and I don't have my receipt. And I went to TJ Maxx, and my TJ Maxx does not have them anymore. So definitely less than $20. So there is a significant difference in the price. There's not a whole lot of difference as far as the quality other than this one is sturdier and this one is softer. But in general, I do like this brush with this foundation. I think you'll be able to see in the demo that it goes a lot faster with this type of brush. However, I don't think it's a necessity that you have this brush with this foundation. So then it also has a Skin Perfecting Concealer brush, which I have not seen at Ulta yet. It retails for $22 and it's a soft synthetic fiber brush with a small head to apply concealer, highlighters, or contouring products. Ideal for concealer and contour, the soft, versatile angled brush allows you to easily apply product for the contours of your face for a more natural blended effect. As far as concealers go, I do have another iBeauty one. These are exactly the same. There is almost nothing different other than it again is more dense and a little bit softer, but basically the same exact product. These in general I find are too big kind of to get in here for concealer. They're a little bit hard. They get real close to my eye and it can get hard to blend out like underneath the lower lash line. So I like these for blending out a cream contour. That's what they're really best suited for in my personal opinion. So I do like these. Again, you don't need this, but if you want to try it, I do like it. So now moving on to the foundation. This retails for $39 and it says it's a 12-hour 4-in-1 Skin Perfecting Foundation that conceals, perfects, performs, and energizes. Vegan, gluten-free, and paraben-free. It says it has an energy complex, keratin complex, and blue agave. And it says the energy complex is a combination of green tea, ginseng, and B vitamins that stimulate the skin's metabolic renewal process. And keratin complex helps smooth, firm, and lift the skin's appearance for an ageless complexion. And agave hydrates and nourishes the skin. I do like the foundation. There are pros and cons for sure about it. But all these things it says it does about, you know, looking like an ageless complexion, I don't know if I agree with that. Nourishing and hydrating, I definitely don't think this is a hydrating foundation. So overall, I'm not so sure about the claims it makes about these 3 certain ingredients to make it extra special. I don't know if I really see those results. But as far as the actual foundation, I'm going to talk about some different areas that I wrote down. We're going to talk about the consistency, finish, application, wear time, do you need a powder and a primer, who it's best suited for, and the color range. So let's start off with the color range. There are a total of 10 shades in the collection. I will say Pur doesn't have a ton of colors in their collection in general. When I bought the powder foundation a couple months back, I had a little trouble picking out what shade I was then, and so unfortunately there are only 10 shades, which are the 10 shades you see right here, as well as what will be swatched later. And as you can see, there's not a whole lot for the really, really deep and the really, really fair. This is what you see as the fairest one, Porcelain. That's actually the one I have on my face right now. I'm either Porcelain or in between Porcelain and Light, but I decided to just put on Porcelain for this video. So I'm definitely not the fairest person in the world, and I'm probably like fair to light right now. So if you're lighter than me, I unfortunately don't think that there's going to be a shade light enough. If you're super duper deep, I also don't think there's going to be a ton of colors for you. There's really only like 2 in that dark shade, and then there's a lot kind of in the middle range. And all their tones tend to lean a little bit on the warmer side. Unfortunately, I don't think they have the best shade range, and I don't think they have the best undertone range either. Unfortunately, you have to kind of figure out how you're going to fit in one of these 10 shades, so that can be a little difficult. So I would highly suggest going in stores and swatching and getting color matched. As far as the consistency, it does kind of have a thicker consistency. It's not super duper thick like a Kat Von D Lock-It kind of foundation, but it is definitely on the thicker side. Like if I put it on my hand, it doesn't start to run that easily. So on the thicker side, so definitely you have to be careful when you apply this foundation, or you can easily get cake face. The first time I applied it, I put dots all over my face like I typically would with the foundation, and you guys, it looked so heavy, it looked cakey, it was crepey, it was so bad. I was so turned off the first time I applied it, and that's when I realized, ooh, this is some high coverage foundation. You do not need a lot of product. Speaking of the coverage really quick, I don't think, although it's high coverage because it's very, very concentrated on that thicker side, I don't think it's a full coverage, because when you see me putting it on in the demo, it doesn't cover up everything that I have going on in my chin. So I'd give it a high medium coverage. It's buildable in very small areas. Again, because if you put too much on your face, it cakes up really easily. As far as the finish, it does give like a natural demi-matte finish. It's not flat matte, but yet it's nothing luminous about it. It's just like a nice semi-matte finish. So I actually really like the finish. It gives you a very natural look. However, I will say it takes a little bit of time to dry down. It does stay rather sticky for about 3 to 5 minutes, and then it will dry down. So if you're like me and don't want that tacky feeling, you're going to want to set it immediately. However, be very careful with what powder you decide to set it with. I would not pick anything that is going to add additional coverage, because that's again going to build up and cake up on the face. I would pick a translucent powder or something really, really lightweight. Now, if you don't want to add more powder because you have dry or normal skin and you don't need it, you don't have to, but you're gonna have to wait about 3 to 5 minutes before it dries down, and I would suggest letting it dry down before applying like other powders and bronzers and blushes to your face. Otherwise, it's not gonna blend out as well. So definitely let it dry down first, or set it with a light powder. As far as the application, as you saw in the demo, I used a brush, the brush that it came with, or I used a beauty blender. I think both of them eventually do apply the foundation and apply it really well and flawlessly. If you want a quicker application, definitely use a more dense, sturdy brush, like the Pur brush that it came with, or an artiste dupe of some sort, whatever it may be. A brush like this actually does work well with it because it spreads out the product evenly in larger strokes and faster. So I do agree that some kind of brush like this or a dense brush is going to work better, but you can use a beauty blender and achieve the same look. It just takes a little bit longer. So now let's go ahead and talk about primers. We already talked about the powder situation. What I always do with foundation reviews is day one, I do not use any primer and I see how it wears by itself. So when I did that, I was super oily. Like, I do get oily with this foundation. So after day one, I was like, all right, I'm going to use some mattifying primers. I used Smashbox mattifying on one side. I used my Jouer mattifying primer on the other. Still continued to get oily. Next day, I used more mattifying primers. I think I used Cover FX. And I used maybe my Makeup Forever one. Again, still got oily. So then the next day I decided to try more of a pore filling smoothing primer, and that's when I figured out that is exactly what you need with this foundation. So I ended up using the Benefit Pore Professional primer, and that's what worked best. So my suggestion for anyone with this foundation is definitely use a smoothing or a pore filling primer with this, and that's going to achieve that more flawless look, and it will maintain the whole day. So they do claim it's a 12-hour wear foundation, and I actually do agree with them. Now I did say I got really, really oily throughout the day, and it was probably around the 4 to 5 hour mark that I noticed I would get oily. So what I learned is by using that primer underneath, and then when I would get oily, I would either use a blotting pad or a blotting powder, like my Urban Decay translucent powder. I would use that, and it would get rid of any of the shine and oil I had. And then the actual foundation underneath it was still completely intact, still looked flawless, and still looked really good on the skin because I had used that primer. So I do agree, it is a very long wearing foundation. I agree with the 12-hour wear time, but if you do have combination or oily skin, yes, you are going to have to blot. But the good news is it doesn't actually break down the foundation. So the key concoction that I learned with this foundation is 1, use a smoothing and or pore filling primer. 2, less is more with this product. Go in with less product than you normally would because a little goes a long way. 3, you don't have to set it. It eventually will set itself to a powder finish. Or if you do have to set it, go in with a very, very light hand and a light translucent powder that's not going to add more coverage. And 4, if you have combo oily skin, blotting powder or blotting pads are going to be your best friend, but your foundation is going to stay intact underneath it and look good, and it is extremely long wearing. So overall, I do think it's a like it foundation. I'm not going to say it's a love it because I do think this is a high maintenance foundation for all those reasons I listed and the ways you have to wear it and apply the foundation. I don't think it's the easiest. There are certain things I have to do with it to make it work. And it also possibly could get cakey if you get out of control with it. And 3, I do get oily with it. But overall, it is long wearing and it looks good on my skin at the end of the day. If I apply it correctly and take care of it throughout the day, it does look really nice. So I think overall, normal and combination skin is who is going to be able to wear this foundation the easiest. I already told you all the different concoctions you have to use with this foundation. I think if you are on either in the spectrum being dry and really oily, you may have to do additional things to this foundation, so it's going to make it even more high maintenance. Also, the color range is pretty limited with this collection, so that can be tough for some people as well with undertones and skin tones, unfortunately. So I hope you guys enjoyed the review and seeing swatches and the demo. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe so you can stay tuned to all my upcoming videos, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye!